Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, and if you're new to my channel, hello, my name is Gabby and welcome to my strange little YouTube channel. Now if you're new to my channel, you may not know this, but I have a series on my channel called Vintage and Vanish, and it is about old cases of people who have mysteriously vanished. Today's video is about a case that I have genuinely been so dedicated to lately. I have never in my entire life researched a case more than I've researched this case that I'm sharing with you guys today in this video. I have honestly never come across a case that has more strange circumstances and events leading up to the disappearance and a weirder set of theories surrounding that disappearance. Today we are talking about the disappearance of Tammy Lynn Leppert. Before I start this, I did get most of my information from a message board created by Tammy's sister, so I feel like pretty much all my information is pretty legitimate. So with that being said, let's just get into it. Tammy Lynn Leppert was born in Rockledge, Florida on February 6, 1965. She spent most of her childhood modeling and participating in beauty pageants. By the age of 16, she had entered about 300 beauty pageants and she took home winning crowns in 280 of them. So she was a beautiful and talented little girl who grew up to become a beautiful and talented young woman. In her teenage years though, she got into acting. But when she was a little girl, she told her mother that she didn't want to be famous. That wasn't her goal. Her goal was to become an actress. This was her dream. And I'm sure a lot of you guys are familiar with 80s movies. And if you just look at Tammy Lynn Leppert, I mean, I feel like if her life went down a different path, she would have had such a successful career throughout the 80s in films. She just seriously had the look. She starred in small parts in films like Little Darlings, Spring Break, and one of the most popular American films, Scarface. After she got done filming for the movie Spring Break, but before filming for the movie Scarface, she went to a weekend party. And after she went to this weekend party, she came back a different person. She was a person that was filled with a lot of anxiety and severe paranoia. She lived in constant fear. Before this paranoia developed, Tammy was described as being a super happy person. She was the girl always smiling. She just wanted to have a good time and to make friends, and no one expected this to even happen. Acting like this was completely out of her character, and it only got worse. Her mother, Linda Curtis, and her good friend, Wing Flanagan, who was at her house a lot of the time and witnessed this firsthand, said that her behavior got very intense and they didn't even know what to do anymore. Tammy's mother came to her and she asked her, Tammy, what's wrong? What's going on? What happened to you? And Tammy looked at her and said, Mom, what would you say if I told you that somebody was trying to kill me? Just like any parent, Tammy's mother was completely shaken up by this and she said, Tammy, do you think somebody's trying to kill you? And Tammy said, yes. Tammy wouldn't say much about what had happened to her, but she confided in her mother and told her that while she was at this weekend party, she had witnessed something, and this thing that she witnessed was the reason that somebody wanted her dead. Tammy became extremely shut off from everyone. She didn't even want to talk to her mother or Wing anymore, and they didn't know if her fears were real and someone was out to get her or if they were just complete delusions. When I say that her paranoia got very bad, I mean it. She wouldn't even eat off of her own plate. She would only eat off of other people's plates, and she wouldn't drink from beverages that were previously opened because she had a fear that she was going to be poisoned, and she wouldn't even answer the phone anymore. This went on for about 2 weeks, and during that 2-week period she was accepted for the role in Scarface. This was a very small role, but she did have a speaking part, which was a big thing for Tammy and Tammy's career, and she was very excited about this. The movie Scarface was filmed down in Miami, Florida, which was a few hours away from Rockledge, so she decided to stay with a family friend named Walter Legowitz during filming. She got done filming her main parts that she was supposed to film for the film, and she was still on set every day, and only 4 days into filming, something happened. They were set to be filming a part in the movie. I'm not exactly sure what scene in the movie that they were filming that day, but it involved a fake gunshot and fake blood, and this just completely triggered some sort of PTSD for Tammy. Before the scene was set to be filmed, She had a complete and utter mental breakdown on set. She ran to her trailer. Everybody was trying to comfort her. She was absolutely hysterical. She could not gather herself, and she decided to go home. People asked her why she left, and she said what she had been telling everybody: "Somebody is out to kill me." Tammy's mother told her that if she really believes her life is in danger, she needs to tell the police. She talked to police and never mentioned this fear. She left out the main fact, but filed a police report nonetheless. Then comes the day that Tammy basically reaches her boiling point. One day she decides to step outside. She gets outside and she kind of looks around, and this bit of paranoia overtakes her, and she starts running for the front door. When she gets to the front door is locked. She starts banging on the front door, screaming. Nobody's coming to the door. She doesn't know what to do. She looks around the front yard, sees a baseball bat, takes it, and smashes in the front windows on the house. She finally gets inside. Her mother comes down, is like, "Tammy, what is going on?" She's holding Tammy and telling her, "I love you, I love you, I love you, please calm down." And she just wouldn't stop. Tammy had completely lost it. She had reached her end. She didn't know how to take this anymore. And Tammy's mother, while recalling that event, says that the person she saw that day was not her daughter. The look in her eyes was something she had never seen before. Tammy's mother checked her into Brevard County Mental Health Center to be evaluated. They found no traces of drugs or alcohol in her system, found her sane of mind, and after 72 hours, she was released. This is a part of the story that is a little bit confusing to me because I can't find much information about her stay at the mental health center. I don't really know how she acted, but if it was some sort of a schizophrenic episode, I don't think she would have been able to turn it off so easily and them come to the conclusion that she was perfectly fine and release her after 72 hours. I know that the therapist who looked into her case is apparently still in business, but of course if I reached out to him, he's not going to give me any information on that. I'm just a YouTuber. This is something that I've never shared on my channel, but I have been in a mental health center also myself for depression, and if you act sane of mind and nothing huge happened before, just kind of like a mental breakdown, they will probably release you after 72 hours or shorter. Also, one thing that is a little confusing to me is if she was so terrified of the outside world and somebody was out to kill her, I don't even really know why she would want to be released. You know what I mean? Like, she was in a safe zone where nobody could get to her. I don't know. The next day though, on July 6th, 1983, everything seemed to be pretty normal with Tammy. A little before noon, she tells her mom she'll be back in a little bit and leaves the house. And Tammy's mom says that she had a strange feeling that that was the last time she would ever see her daughter. A friend of Tammy's named Keith Roberts picks up Tammy from her house and they were headed to the beach. But they never got to the beach. According to him, they had a huge argument. She told him to let her out of the car. He dropped her off in a parking lot in front of the Glass Bank in Cocoa Beach, Florida, right off A1A, which is about 5 miles from her house. If you're wondering what this argument was about, according to Keith Roberts, when he was interviewed by police, he said it was about Tammy wanting him to drive her to Fort Lauderdale, and he refused, and she got upset by this. Apparently, according to him, also that day, he gave her $300. I'm not entirely sure if this was money that he owed her or money that she asked to borrow, but apparently he gave her $300. Even though he is the last person to see her alive, he's not the last person to have heard from her. Not long after being dropped off by him, she phoned her aunt, Ginger Kolsch. Her Aunt Ginger owned a small costume shop called Balloon Addicts in the area, but was currently out of town. Tammy left 3 very urgent messages. Ginger said Tammy sounded like she was afraid of somebody. It was real. I'm convinced of that. Across from where she was dropped off in front of the Glass Bank off of A1A, there was an Exxon Mobil gas station. It is guessed that she probably called her aunt from this gas station, but it is uncertain. From the research that I've done, these 3 messages have apparently been lost. There's no record of them at all. Police do not have them in their files. But Ginger claims that Tammy was dropped off somewhere, she was frantic, and telling her the same thing that she had been telling everybody else, that somebody was trying to kill her. At the time of Tammy's disappearance, she was 18 years old, about 5 feet 4 inches tall, weighed about 103 pounds. Her eyes were hazel and her hair was blonde. Now that you have the backstory and all the details behind what happened before she disappeared, let's get into some of the theories surrounding her disappearance. The first theory is one that her family, her friends, most people online, myself included, do not find very likely, and that is that she ran away. Now, yes, at the time before her disappearance, she was obviously becoming shut off, and you can tell that with everything going on mentally, she was definitely feeling very alone. So some do believe she possibly just up and left her old life behind. Something strange that I have to add is that the day before she disappeared, which was the night after she was released from the hospital, she met up with a friend named Rick Adams. Rick Adams was a friend from church and one of the few people that she trusted 100%. They definitely had a really, really good friendship. She met up with him and was telling him the same exact thing that she was telling everybody else in her life, that somebody was out to kill her. She was absolutely hysterical during their time together that night. He recommended that they go to a temple and they pray, and that's exactly what they did. He said that before he left her that night, that she was telling him over and over again how dearly she loved him and how much she appreciated their friendship. But she told him that she may have to go away for a while. Rick didn't really know what she meant by this, but he kind of figured that she was referring to going to California, because Tammy had been previously talking about wanting to go out to California for some time for some new acting jobs. Police found this claim very interesting, and they added it to the list of reasons of why they thought she ran away. Another strange thing is that after her disappearance, police received 2 phone calls from an anonymous woman who told them that Tammy was alive, she was living under a different name, and that she was living out her dream of becoming a nurse. There was no proof to this claim, and this lead led nowhere, so most people think that this woman was just making this up. These things are weird and may back up that she possibly ran away, but there's more backing up that she didn't. For one, she left the house with pretty much none of her belongings. She left in a denim skirt, a shirt with flowers on the shoulders, and flip-flops. Some claim that she left the house barefoot, but from all the deep research that I've done, she actually had sandals on, and I don't even understand the claim that she would have left the house barefoot, because I know Florida, I'm originally from Florida, and Florida in July, you cannot walk around a parking lot and sidewalk with nothing on your feet. Your feet would be on fire. She wouldn't have been able to make it very far at all. Also, she may have left the house with her purse. It was a gray purse, but I couldn't find out for sure if she did have it on her or not. Nonetheless, she left with pretty much no belongings at all. I feel like if she was going to run away, she would have grabbed something of hers before leaving. Yes, she supposedly had $300, but that's not going to get you very far. Also, if she was absolutely petrified of going anywhere by herself, I don't know why she would be planning on running off on her own. How from going from an episode where she steps outside her house and just completely loses it because she got locked out of her house, how would she just gain all this confidence to just leave? That doesn't make any sense to me. Of course, she also wouldn't want to leave her friends and family, but the main reason that she would have never ran away is because acting was her dream, and she couldn't become an actress if she just vanished. This is a dream that she would have never given up in a million years. Tammy was also quoted saying in March of 1983, "I like this place. I've lived here all my life and I'd like to stay here. Ever since I was a little girl, I've always dreamed of having a house in Cocoa Beach and living happily ever after." One thing that really upset Tammy's family is that from the very beginning, police wouldn't really help them out much because they said that she was just a runaway. But her family never believed for 1 second that she would have ran away, and neither do I and most people on the internet and most people who's researched into this case. This theory just doesn't seem very plausible. The second theory is not a huge theory, but it is a theory, and that is that her friend Keith Roberts had something to do with her disappearance. He was a suspect at the very beginning, but they ruled him out very, very quickly. It is strange because they apparently got into this huge argument. I mean, it just looks fishy, even though he isn't a suspect anymore. But if Tammy's Aunt Ginger does claim that she called her after being dropped off, then we know that he didn't just not drop her off. He apparently did drop her off, but maybe he went back to pick her up. I mean, I don't know, it doesn't make a lot of sense. The third theory is that serial killer Christopher Wilder was responsible for her disappearance. This man was linked to a lot of disappearances, murders, rapes, and attacks on women in the early 1980s. He frequently traveled to Florida around the area where she disappeared. He was known for trying to lure women by promising them non-existent modeling jobs, and this does seem like something that might have got the attention of Tammy. Now, Tammy was in the entertainment business, and you may be wondering who her agent was. Her agent was none other than her mother. Her mother owned a talent agency, and she was in charge of being Tammy's talent agent. When Tammy's mother was interviewed about Christopher Wilder, she said that she does remember a man who looked quite a lot like Christopher Wilder coming into her talent agency. She said that she was not 100% sure if it was him or not, but whoever it was Christopher Wilder's twin. This theory was so believed that Tammy's family actually sued Christopher Wilder, but they halted the process because them and their agent didn't believe in the end that he had anything to do with her disappearance. Christopher Wilder died in a police shootout a year later in 1984. The fourth theory is that a man named John Crutchley was responsible for her disappearance. This was a man convicted of rape and kidnapping in the Florida area in the early 80s. In 1983, he was working at Harris Corporation in Palm Bay, Florida, which is ironically only about a half-an-hour drive from Cocoa Beach, Florida, taking A1A. This lead didn't really go anywhere though, and John Crutchley committed suicide in prison in 2002. The fifth theory is one that you are all probably thinking of right now, and that is that Tammy was abducted and sold into sex trafficking. Sex trafficking is something that is all too real, and I don't think is talked about enough, but I was looking through a lot of articles and pages about this case, and somebody left a comment under a article, and they said that they were in the Cocoa Beach area in 1983 visiting, and while they were visiting, they were out by themselves and a man in a white van came up behind them and tried to abduct them. They said that they believed that this man was trying to abduct them and sell them into a sex trafficking ring. This was not a huge lead in this case. They couldn't really do much with this, but it is a huge theory, and it's something that shows up as a theory in a lot of cases for a reason. Now, Tammy's mother had a theory of her own, and it's a little bit out there, but if you look into it, it does make a lot of sense. Now, in the area they were in Florida, there was a lot of illegal drug trafficking and money laundering going on.
She was in a tremendous state of fear, anxiety.
Who's trying to hurt you? Who's trying to hurt you?
They're gonna blow my head off like this.
Hysterically crying, saying something about money laundering. I don't know where to hide, things of that nature.
We all know that somebody doing something that they're not supposed to be doing, they would do anything to shut somebody up from saying anything to police. There is not a lot of proof to back this one up, but this is a theory that Tammy's mother always believed, and it would explain somebody wanting Tammy dead. Police claimed that Tammy never filed a police report, and they do not have it on record, but Tammy's mother swears that her daughter did file a police report, but it is uncertain exactly what was written on it. Tammy's mother passed away in 1995, and her dying wish was to find out what happened to her daughter, but that wish unfortunately never came true. This was the theory though that Tammy's mother believed until the day that she passed away. Some of the remains of a woman named Nancy K. Brown were discovered on March 8, 1984. She went missing from Cocoa Beach on June 6, 1983, almost exactly a month before Tammy did, so many think that their disappearances may be actually connected in some way, or the person responsible for Nancy's murder may have been responsible for Tammy's as well. This was a small lead, but this was something that Tammy's sister Suzanne could not ever stop thinking about because of how coincidental it was. Tammy's sister Suzanne, who was adopted out in 1965, still holds hope in finding her sister. She has a Facebook page that I will link down below where she spreads the word continuously about Tammy. I have read through pretty much every single post Suzanne has on the internet. I dove very deep in this case, and Suzanne says that she has researched through the Doe network and none of the Jane Does look like they could be Tammy. Profiles have been made for her on the Doe network, National Missing and Unidentified Persons System, and the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children in hopes to generate any new leads or tips regarding this case. This case is one that for some odd reason I am super connected to, because I just look at Tammy and she was somebody that had so much going for her, and it ended in such a horrible way. Her family and friends have no idea what happened to her. Her mother passed away just wanting some answers. It's such a devastating case. It is very strange to me because even though it was the 80s, it was quite a long time before I was born, I am very familiar with the road A1A. It is a main road going up Florida, and especially around 11 to 12 o'clock, it is so busy. And no one ever came forward saying that they saw Tammy on that road that day, and that is just so unbelievable to me that not one person came forward. I feel like Tammy was such a beautiful young girl. I feel like she would have caught the eye of somebody. This is just crazy to me, and I have researched this case so much, and I do not think that Tammy was just crazy. It would be one thing if these mental health issues just started developing over time, but it was ever since she went to that weekend party. Something happened, and if I had to guess what it was, I think she witnessed a murder or something illegal going down, and the person who saw her witness it told her that she was next, or because of what she saw, they were going to kill her. I believe that someone was out to get her, and they had something planned. It was premeditated, and they got what they set out to do, and they abducted her. And I don't think that this case is impossible to solve. I feel like even though this happened before I was even alive, I feel like there's still hope, and I can just stand behind her sister Suzanne in not giving up. Suzanne begs that if anybody has any information at all or any new leads, to please contact the Cocoa Beach Police Department at 321-868-3251. Also remember that you can stay anonymous. So I hope that you guys enjoyed that video, and definitely spread it around, because all these cases, I think that there's still hope out there. I know this was a little bit of a longer video, and I want to start doing longer videos because I believe that these cases deserve as much time as possible spreading the information about them out there. Leave any recommendations for video ideas down below in the comments, and I love you guys so much, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye guys.